I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nations in Treaty 3 territory. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing today. Robert Belinky and Bill Mazinski are on Zoom with us. The assessor today is Arka Edakorov, and our recording secretary is Belen Rojo. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note that you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it's your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg Board of Revision's YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council as an independent of it and the administration and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to the application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all applicants have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 2 through 9 on the docket today. Ms. Rojo, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's information.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Arka Aidarkhanov.
And do you affirm the evidence you're about to present at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
And do you affirm the evidence you're about to present at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
We will start with item 2 on the agenda, which will be 721 Watt Street. It's all for quantum, which is value. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
And why is this doing this to me today? I'll just be a second. I'm sorry. $721 what? Arco, when you're ready.
Okay. So Board of Revision file number 221999. Applicant Altus Group Limited. Roll number 02011703-000. Address 721 Watt Street. Owner Royal Canadian Properties Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date, April 1st, 2021. Assessed value, $788,000. Classification code 60, liability taxable. Subject property consists of 2 buildings and 2 premises, and as well as 2 income streams, which I will describe a bit further. Actual year built 1956, effective year 1972. Wall height 12 to 14 feet. Gross floor area 1,475 square feet. When we go to page 2 and page 3, we can see aerial view and the street view of subject property. Page 2 shows an aerial view of the subject property where we can see, I guess, 2 buildings. One of them is a Domo gas station, kiosk, and the pumps. And the second building is a vehicle-related garage. Page 3 provides further information on street view, what type of property we're discussing here. In page 5, income streams. So income stream number 1 is a gas station kiosk, 95 square feet, rent $196.58 per square foot. Potential rent $18,675. When we apply 2% vacancy cost, 3% expenses and $6 shortfall rate, we get a net operating income of $17,441,000. Capitalization rate of 5.35% gives us a capitalized value of $331,607. And we are also adding value of additional buildings for amount of $109,000. Total value for income stream number 1 is $441,000. Page number 6 shows us detached structures that were added as additional buildings. Those are typical buildings added to the gas stations, and those would be fuel holding tanks, gas pumps, and canopies. In this particular case, everything that's highlighted in yellow is added to the building. Income stream number 2, 1,380 square foot, leasable area, $17.04 rent. Potential rent, $23,515. Vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall $6. Gives us a net operating income of $22,188,000. We are applying capitalization rate of 6.4%, which gives us a capitalized value for this income stream of $347,000. Page 8 is the income value summary, and I just wanted to point a couple of things out before I continue. Potential rate on page 8 is $42,190,000. Subject property is itself one of the comparables on my list, and I'll get to it, but right now just ask the panelists to flip to the last page of my report. And what we have here on page 50 and page 51 is page 50 is a rent roll submitted by the property owners, showing us that the potential rent is $55,560,000. That is actual rent. And page 51 is the actual income workup what the value would have been if actual rent was used by the model. I'm not seeking for an increase. This is just for the panel members to review. So $970,000 would have been the assessed value if actual rent for such a property have been used. Okay. Now I'll go back to page number 9. And on page number 1, I provide comparables for SKP, which is for the kiosks. And
I'm not quite there yet.
okay.
For some reason, my computer's thinking I'm somewhere else. Page number 9, correct? Yes. Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. Arthur.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so page number 9, I will have gas station comparables. So the same comparables have been provided in this cycle by the city. And in here, we have a mix of large convenience stores, small kiosks, as well as car washes, and the mix of convenience store car washes. So what I did is I further pulled out the comparables for small kiosks, and it's a smaller workup at the bottom of the page 9. So there is 4 comparables. And those 4 comparables would be a better indicator of what the valuation for the kiosk be. And if I go back to page number 5, the model provides a value of $196 per square foot for rent for the SKP, and I think it's a bit aggressive based on the comparables. However, why model is doing it is because it is a regression model, and we can see comparable number 5, 112 square feet area, $160, and I believe it kind of like provides economies of scale and creates a scenario where a smaller kiosk on subject property is 95 square foot kiosk is $196, sorry, per square foot. So that's a reason I think why it's doing it, but I think it is a bit aggressive as well. But the evidence is there on page 9 for the kiosk. Now, when we go on page 10, those are comparables for vehicle service garage. And again, those are 15 comparables for vehicle service garage, and the city have been using the same comparables for this 2023 cycle. I want to bring the board's attention to comparable number 6. That is 721 Watt Street. That is subject property. And the net rent there is $29.30 per square foot. Again, when we go back to our income stream for VSG, we can see that the model is applying a lesser rent. It is applying $17.04 per square foot for the same comparable, for the same property, because it's, again, using a regression model when it's applying the rents. Again, that's for panel members to review and consider. Overall, next pages, there's quite a few pages of pictures for comparables for the garages that are used, 14 comparables for the garages. And they would be, let's see, where would that end? So comparables for the gas stations would be pages 11 through 24. Comparables for the garages would take pages 25 until page 39. So basically page 11 to page 39 is pictures of the comparables used in this report. Page 40, table of capitalization rates as calculated by the city regression model. Then we go to page 42, up until the end of the report is the income and expense information provided by the property owner of the subject property. And I already addressed the issue of subject potential rent of $55,560 actual. But as far as I can see, like probably like actual rents and because it is as they are net rents are probably the best rents to be used in the rent table because they are objective, they are actual. Other criteria such as expenses, percentages applied, or rate for shortfall or capitalization rate are more or less subjective. And I ask the board to consider evidence that I just presented, and I'm open for the question. Thank you.
Any questions, Marcello?
Yeah, I'll start with the first question. Arca, this is a modeled valuation in terms of the 2023 assessment. You played no part in changing any of the numbers in it?
I did not make any changes, no.
Okay. Now, the next question is in terms of the capitalization rates that you have on page 50 or 40 of 51, where are the capitalization rates for this property coming from? Office, industrial, retail?
Well, as I said before, and many times, those capitalization rates, to the best of my knowledge, are arriving from well, they arrive from the model, and the table here that presents capitalization rates for sections within the assessment department. So we have office section, we have industrial, we have retail, we have multifamily, and we have hotel. Those are all sections. And this particular property falls within the office portfolio, and capitalization rate, to my knowledge, would be calculated based on suburban B rates, which is the same as suburban A rates. Yeah.
Okay, so your cap rates are coming from the office suburban rate.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the property itself, would you not agree that it is a retail property and therefore the cap rates should be derived or at least adjusted from a retail capitalization rate?
Well, property itself, I mean, it's a multi-use property. It has a gas station. It has a vehicle service garage, so it has industrial part in it as well. How much of it industrial? How much of it is retail? Those are cap rates. The ones that you see are like 5.6 and 6.9 are 20th and 80th percentiles. So there is obviously 20% of properties that would get less than 5.6, for example, cap rate, and 20% of the properties that would get more than 6.9, right? So
I understand the retail and the industrial comparisons that you just made. And certainly even we look at both the retail and industrial capitalization rates when we look at the cap rates for these types of properties. But how does the office fit in there?
I'm not a modeler. I wouldn't know exactly how those things how the model would calculate it precisely.
Okay, and in terms of your rent for the kiosk, can we agree that, again, the model is being a tad aggressive here?
In my opinion, it is, yeah, it is on a higher end.
Okay,
Yeah.
my questions, thank you.
Robert, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Arca, let's start at the top. 75 Strathcona, 1976 was rented at $750. Why would the rent be so low on that one?
Okay, hold on. Let me just find the page here. In my opinion, and I've been there a couple of years ago myself, it's like a location of the building,
Mhm.
as well as overall quality of the building that affects it.
Which fuel are they selling there?
Excuse me?
Which fuel are they selling? Is it a Petrocan? Is it a Domo? Is it a?
Where at 75 Strathcona?
Yeah.
That's a vehicle service garage.
That's just okay. So these are all the, like, even the one for Watt is a service. That's just okay. It's the one I'm looking at for comparisons under the garage. Is that correct? When you're
Yeah.
talking $29 on Watt for the actual.
Yeah, that is a garage part of it. Because
That's the
subject
garage
property
part.
has the garage as well as a gas station. That's why I had to use two sets of
Okay.
comparables, one's for gas station, then another one for the garage.
They built
So-
in 19. So Watt was built in 1972, right? And it's 1,400 square feet.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. I believe so.
Which one is your closest comparable then to that? That seems awful small for a shop.
It is small and
Compared to the rest of your comparables. I mean, the next one after that, I think, is 2,100, and it's at 1833. But that was built in 1991. Watt Street was built in 72. Correct?
yes. So Watt Street is built in 1972. It is a smaller comparable, but however, it is one of the comparables. So there is actual market list on it at $29. Does the model use 29? No, model is using 17, right? Why
Okay.
is model using 17? We have average of $16.42 overall in this particular group of comparables.
I'm just trying to
Uh,
figure out why it's so high at that 29.30. You've brought it down to 17. And
Yeah.
looking at your comparables, it looks more like even if you look at King Edward 1870, it's at 10.15. I'm trying to
Yeah.
find something
No,
that fits into your.
I understand
trying
that.
to find where the model is. I'm trying to find where the model got this. That high should have been thrown out according to what I'm looking at on this chart because it made no sense. And if I look at all the rest, the numbers seem to be coming in lower than your 17. And I'm trying to see which one would be the best comparison. But it's kind of difficult.
Okay, I see. Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like the 29.30 is a throwaway. Look, if you look at all the rest of them, the next high one is $23, correct? Or $23,
Well,
25 cents.
well, throw away or not, it is the actual rent.
Well, is it though? We don't. Is
It
that
is.
okay? Is it owned? Is he leasing the property as a whole, or is he leasing just that
Oh.
building at the price?
Let's look at the page 50 of the report. That's an income.
Okay, let's take a look.
Mhm.
I couldn't make it out from that what he was getting for that rent.
Okay.
Page 50.
Yes.
So it says annual rent 15th. That's
15,
the Volvo gas car part.
that's a
So
gas station, and the
yeah, and the
bottom
Franco
part,
Mel.
yeah, it's 1,400 square feet at $28.29 per square foot.
Yeah, 28.29 per 28.29 per square foot,
Yes,
not 29.
39,600 annual. That's what is reported. Like that's all I can be. That's all of this are based on income and expense reports, right? All of
So
the
So this is part of that retail complex and they're renting this facility from them? Is that correct?
well, this is Royal Canadian Properties. That's the owner.
Okay. I'm just having trouble with their numbers they're putting in. You know, I think I'll have to hear what Marcello's got to say. Then I can make my decision then. Our artists will work on the decision. I've got no further questions. Marcello, the floor is yours.
Okay, we are taking a look at 721 Watt Street. And this is a Royal Canadian property. Again, it is a gas station slash shop. And you can see the pictures on page 6 and 7. It's on the corner of Watt Street and Kimberley. And it is Domo. In terms of the property itself, the way that we've looked at this property, we looked at the VSG first on page 14. And we have a contract rent of $22.45. We've applied $5.84 per square foot unrecovered expenses. We believe this rent to be a semi-gross rent. So that is why we downscaled the rent to $22.45. Now, in terms of the vacancy allowance, that is 2%. We've applied a shortfall rate of $6, non-recovered expenses. Again, we haven't removed or we haven't deviated from that. And in terms of the cap rate, well, there you have both of our charts. And again, we get into this conversation of what this property is. Well, it's kind of a mix of industrial and retail. So in a way, we're having to take a look at both of those really to derive a cap rate. Now, in terms of the location for a garage or gas station, I think for the most part, what any type of retailer for those types of properties, what they're looking for is generally traffic flow. And the more traffic flow, obviously, the more money that you're going to make to cover your expenses. That said, this type of properties tends to be more common in areas where there's significantly more traffic flow. This is inset kind of into a neighborhood and, mostly residential neighborhood. So we've gone with the 7.75 capitalization rate. That is above both of our categories in terms of the investment grade for industrial and even for, for retail, it's somewhere in between 750 and 8. So that would be the retail low quality. But that is basically determined by it's not situated in the best location. Obviously, traffic flow is going to be an issue. Again, for those reasons, it's an older property too in general. So those are the reasons that we've adjusted the capitalization rate on the VSG. And there you can see the workup on page 16. Again, we've applied a 7.75% cap rate to this. We get an end value of $367,449. slightly above the assessors. In terms of the kiosk, you can see some of our rents here. So this is a common chart that we're going to be using for gas stations. You'll see how we've divided it into 3 color codes. So the green represents the car wash and the C-store. The kind of brownish looking orange color, that is small kiosks. And the bluish color is only C-stores, so no car washes. And then we have a couple of car wash examples, and I could be mistaken on this, but I believe these are really the only 2 car wash rents around. I think even ARCA would probably agree with that there are not many car wash rents around. So, yes, we did think that the city was a little aggressive in terms of the rate on the kiosk. So we've applied a $175 rent on it, as opposed to $196. 2% vacancy, $6 shortfall, 7% for the non-recoverables, 7.75 capitalization rate. In our opinion, you can't really separate these 2 properties. They're kind of, they come as a package. So you're going to apply the same cap rate to them, and you're going to have the same amount of risk, I think, for both of them, regardless of, what way you look at it. The one thing that stands out about this property again is the location, and that goes for both sections, the garage and the gas station. Again, the issue of traffic flow is probably an important one, and the age of the property. So we think that this property would be on the low end of the quality class. So we've put a 7.75 capitalization rate on it. Now on page 19, you can see our workup. And again, we've applied the same 7.75 capitalization rate. I know the city has applied something in the 5 neighborhood for this. I really don't understand that. I don't understand the issue of it coming from office capitalization rates, which really have nothing to do with this type of use. So we're applying something that is more, that relates more to industrial or retail uses. On page 20, you can see our combined workup. Again, there's not a significant difference in terms of the overall value. We agree with the adjustments that the assessor has made in terms of the cost elements, the fiberglass tanks, all of that. I mean, in general, we've looked at the costs of those, and we don't disagree with them. So we're not really that far apart, but again, I disagree with that capitalization rate that they put on the kiosk. So we're asking for an adjustment to $672,000. And in terms of the remainder of the presentation, we are just submitting the income and expenses and the COVID questionnaire that the applicant provided to us. So I am ready for questions.
Arca, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Robert, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just one question regarding page 17 on your lease comparable information.
Yeah.
So are you classifying this one as small kiosk and subject property?
Yes, I would classify it as a small kiosk.
Okay, and you have calculated at $175 per square foot.
Yeah.
So that's above your small kiosk comparisons there, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we could have stayed with the contract rent in there at 168, but the This is a small kiosk, so we are expecting to see some economies of scale in this also, so that is also the reason why I adjusted it beyond that. But again, I wouldn't have adjusted it to 196. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
And I've got no further questions. Do you have anything in summation on this, Arca?
Oh, I guess just to summarize, like I guess it appears that for this particular property, what really comes into question is expenses that are used by autos as well as the CTM as well as cap rates. But I just wanted to just restate it if I wasn't clear in the very beginning that City of Winnipeg does provide model generated values, and that is why they are where they are. Like that's why our non-recoverable expenses are at 3%, and shortfall, I guess shortfall rate. I don't think we are in a disagreement, but non-recoverable rates for the most part where they are is because model is using the entire study to my knowledge. That's all I have. Thank you.
Marcello, anything summation?
I guess the only thing that I would like to summarize again and restate is the issue of using office cap rates to derive, the capitalization rate for this. And again, it's a completely different use. So I don't understand how you can do that. That's really all I wanted to say on that.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll move on to number 19 Stapleton. Correct. That'll be number 3. Give us a chance to get it opened up, please. Number 3. Blow that up. Okay, Arca, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, Arca, when you're ready then. 19 Stapleton.
So file number 221737. Applicant Autos Group Limited. Roll number 1409380710. Address 19 Stapleton Street. Owner 2636256 Manitoba Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $598,000. Okay, so it's one building built in 1969. Wall height 16 feet. Leasable area 3,960 square feet. Page 2, aerial and street view of subject property. See page 3, it's blocked out the details of sale, but there was a post-reference sale of subject property on June 21st, 2022. So page 4 provides a workup. So at $11.25 per square foot, we get a potential rent of $44,550. Vacancy is 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall $6, gives us an NOI of $41,874. We are using 7% cap rate, and that gives us a capitalized value of $598,000. Okay, page 6, 10 comparables. I believe last time we used 15. This time we're using 10. Those are basically 10 comparables that are, I guess, non-brand comparables that are used in this case of the more generic vehicle service garages. So with comparables, we get an average of $14.65 per square foot. Again, just to repeat it, subject property is at 1125. So so comparable pictures takes us are in the pages 7 to page 16. Page 17 is a capitalization table, same as we have discussed just before. Standard table. Page 19 to the end is income and expense information by the property owner. And with that, that's all I have. And open to your questions.
Marcello, any questions?
Again, these are similar comparables that you've used in the previous example. The capitalization rate information is the same.
Sorry, the same comparables?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. So,
And in terms of the rent from your comparables, which ones do you think are the better comparables?
well, I guess well, I guess the properties on Chevrier are very appear to be pretty much similar to what subject property is. Actually a bit inferior to subject property in my opinion because of the way the garage doors are built. So subject property may be more similar to the one on Henderson in a way of the build, but probably a better comparable. Let's see. I would say, yeah, still, yeah, like slightly inferior would be comparable number 9 and comparable number 3. So those are probably one of the better ones.
Okay, so would you agree that locations that are located on main streets would probably achieve a higher rent?
I agree that like main streets would achieve are likely to achieve a higher rent. Yes.
Okay, and would you agree that this property is off of a main street, not directly on it, and it also has industrial zoning on it, correct?
Yes. So basically, let's answer. It does have industrial zoning, correct? Now, where is subject property located exactly, right? So it's on Stapleton. It's a block off of Naren. It's a bit deeper in, but it is pretty close to the main street. Naren is one of the main streets.
Would you agree that visibility for any type of retail property is what you're looking for? So traffic flow, and you're going to want to have that great exposure, right? Is that correct?
Well, again, are we talking a retail store, retail property, or are we talking a vehicle service garage?
Again, I use the comparisons of properties that are located on main streets in your comparables. And
okay, so where is
have better exposure, would they not?
Well, they would have higher exposure. The one on Pembina would have a higher exposure. However, it's an inferior building, and it is rented at at 12.25 per square foot. So comparable number 9 is on Pembina. It's at higher rent, and it is a more or less inferior building.
What about
Chef-
75 static?
Chevrier, same. Like it is. It's now Chevrier Boulevard is not a Pembina. It has lesser of an exposure, and I would argue that subject property location in Stapleton and Marion probably is a better location. Now, however, again, the building of subject property is superior.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Robert, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
Yes, so what kind of a vehicle service garage is this? Is this a auto body, auto painting? What is it?
Well, for the purposes, like for the city purposes, we classify them as a vehicle service garage. I did not inspect the property, so I don't know exactly what type of specifics going on. Like the page number 2 says Auto Beauty and Protection Center, the Dr. Dent. So there is some sort of probably a body work going on, and but as far as specifics, I wouldn't know exactly.
So you've just treated it as a generic vehicle service garage without inputting any other details into your model. Would that be accurate?
Yes, the model typically like there is not a lot of room to provide a lot of details to the model.
You have no inside pictures?
No.
So you have a cap rate of 7% on here. How do you support that 7% cap rate that's been applied by the model?
Well, again, it's a model as I said, model applied cap rate. What we have to look at then is age of the building, 1969. It appears to be a bit of an older building in that case. That's one of the, I guess, inputs that go into the model as other than that, I cannot say what else might go in, like what other factor, like what else is there to drive it a bit lower.
Well, you have a chart about how cap rate chart. So how do you support it with this chart that you have on page 17?
Well, this chart is for information purposes only. It says that City of Winnipeg on April 1st, 2021, 20th and 80th percentile. So 60% of properties have sold between those cap rates, 5.6 and 6.9, for example, as suburban B, 5.5 and 7.45 as industrial B. So it's just shows that 60% of properties fall into this category. Majority of the properties would fall between those cap rates. However, there would
This
be
is an industrial then? What is it, an office or industrial?
Well, to my knowledge, the model is using, because it is an office section portfolio, model is applying office office rates.
Okay, but because it's older, then that's why I got 7. Okay, thank you for that. Page 19. You didn't put any weight on this income and expense report. Is that correct?
No, we did not. I did not have a chance to review it.
Okay, but it does have expenses of $40,600 in 2020. at an income of 28,800. Do I read that correctly?
So that's what it's reported, right? And is it that's what has been reported of for the expenses. Whether those things add up to that or not, that has to be verified. Let's assume they do add up to that. Then you would assume that this property operates at a loss.
Okay, so you cannot explain the discrepancy on their 2020 report with what it should make on the market.
Exactly, because this seems to be probably some errors on it or something else. Like it is yet to be verified why it is like that. But sometimes probably like it is sent to us in such form, but certain things cannot be accepted.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you very much. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Now let's go back to your cap rate. I just want to understand, this is an industrial property, correct?
This is a vehicle service garage, and it says
Zoned industrial, correct?
zoned manufacturing. Yeah, zoned industrial.
You're saying vehicle garage when it's Dr. Dent, which is sort of along the lines of a body shop, correct?
I would believe so, yes.
Yeah, it's not a vehicle service garage, is it? They don't have hoists inside and all the rest?
As they might.
Might. So you haven't visited the site then.
No, I haven't.
But the cap rate should be on the industrial side, should it not?
Well, again, this question on the cap rates, and I'm always being asked that, whether it's industrial or that, and I can only say whatever I was told. Is because this property is in the office portfolio. We have to categorize, look at suburban B office.
How is it in the office portfolio when it's an industrial property?
I wouldn't. That's a question about me. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
So you understand that we have to question it, though, right?
Yes. Okay.
I mean, it's a garage or it's a service property. It's not an office, correct?
It's not an office. Absolutely, it's a garage. And do we have again? Like I guess the resident would be like, do we have a? I guess should there be a section for every type of property? Should there be a dental office? And should there be a candy store? Cap rates, of course. Like you have to like shrink it down to some point, right?
But VSGs are usually on commercial properties or on industrial properties, are they not?
No, actually, VSGs are office properties, to my knowledge. But
VSGs are always on property, on office?
in our section, yes, that's in the office section.
Does that make sense?
No, but there is yeah.
I mean, when we're comparing, I know we don't compare values from property to property, but if the properties around them are in industrial park, would they not fall into the industrial park area?
Well, they would fall into, but again, like industrial park could potentially have a number of different properties, right? Different uses of properties. So you would have your true industrial building. You can have your retail store building. You can have office building in there as well. So whether it's an industrial park and zoned industrial doesn't necessarily mean that the particular property we're talking about is industrial.
Okay, so we shouldn't take any other evidence from previous hearings, but there were other properties that were industrial, and they listed them as industrial, and they cap rated them like they're industrial, but they were a car dealership. And that's where I went, why are we dealing with a car dealership as in industrial property,
Yeah, okay.
car dealership? And they said, well, that's how this one is, because it's on an industrial property. And I went, but now all of a sudden, now it's been changed this year to a car dealership. And car
Okay.
dealerships aren't on industrial property, are they? They're looked at as separate.
Well, they used to be like a couple of years ago, the car dealerships were in the office portfolio, right? They were in the office section. So
Yeah.
I believe they still are. I'm not sure, but
They still are? Okay. Well, that would make more sense with some of them, but some of them, they should be in VSG as well. So.
yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. But I mean, I guess cap rates are like they're subjective. Like we can, so we provide a range of cap rates right there for the panel members. So we have industrial, retail, and multifamily. And to my knowledge, like we are using office suburban B cap rates as in calculating this particular properties in the office portfolio. However, as a panel members, like
I hear you, Art. I hear it's confusing in some cases, but I want you to know it confuses us sometimes.
yeah, I understand that
At
too.
least
Yeah,
myself. I don't know if it confuses my other panel members, but sometimes it confuses me on the cap rates on how we move, because on the industrial side it would be on the 80 percentile would be, I think it's 7.45, correct?
Yes,
I'm not
it
looking
is.
at the chart right now.
Yeah, yes, it is. Mhm.
And so again, I don't even know what the appellant's asking for, but
Yeah,
so
industrial is
7.45, and that would be on the average site, right?
no, that's on the higher end side. At the lower would be actually 5.55.
Yeah, on the
So it
lower.
has a wider
newer,
span.
that would be newer, higher ceilings on industrial.
Mhm. So that's
16s would not cut it for a 15 for a 5, right?
again, I am not a qualified person to answer that question at the moment. I haven't reviewed industrial properties criteria.
Okay. I won't drill you any further, Ark. I think we've gone far enough on that one. I think we'll get to Marcello's presentation so I can see where he's at. Marcello,
Yeah,
give us your feedback on this
Okay.
one, please.
so this is 19 Stapleton, and we are looking at the pictures on page 6 and 7. And on 8, you can see the street view picture. This is, I don't know what that particular field is called, auto beautification. It is M1, I made note of that and included the zoning information on it. In terms of the approach that we've taken, and I apologize for the first entry, because I believe we have that entry in twice, and same with 721 Watt. But we took a look at quite a few leases, and obviously I think we're going to be going from the lower end, first of all, in terms of location and, again, exposure. It's not on the main street, plus it's an older building, 1969. I mean, that's 54 years ago. It's an old building now, in terms of the economic life of a building. In terms of the rent that we've used, we've gone with a $10 per square foot rent. That's $39,080. 2% for vacancy, 6% for shortfall, management and others. We haven't, deviated from that. And in terms of the capitalization rate, more so on the industrial grade, 8%. And where do we derive 8% from? Well, we have 3 categories in terms of the investment grade for properties in our industrial study that we submitted on this property. You also have that industrial cap study, and you can see how much we've changed from the previous cycle. You can see that on pages 16 and 17 of the industrial cap study, I ask that you probably have this open simply because it'll help explain this a little bit better.
That was submitted?
Yes, yes,
Okay, to applicant cap rate study.
yeah. So we submitted 2 cap rate studies, a retail cap study and an industrial cap study. So the industrial one, you would turn to pages 16 and 17. So you can have the side-by-side view of the cap rates from the previous cycle to the current.
Marcelo, which one do you want us to open? Final retail? No, or industrial?
No, it's the industrial cap study.
Done.
You know, do we not have it?
Did you find it,
And
Arca?
Okay,
Just give me
I thought I had sent it in.
into retail.
I don't have industrial.
Okay,
There's some
all right.
applicant expense study I have here.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, that may be my mistake. But we can look at the chart that we have on page 18. So we have 3 categories for industrial properties, your class A, and that would be your properties, more so your warehousing distribution. Those are the properties that are really in high demand right now, and where the marketplace has actually seen increases. Those range between 6 and 650. The class B is really where most of the portfolio in Winnipeg lands. That's where most properties are, and there is a lot of variation. But we say that they range between 650 and 750 in terms of the capitalization rate. Now, there is what I would call a I don't know the term, a no man's land in between 750 and 850, which is our next category of the non-investment grade properties. So the non-investment grade properties would be your smaller, older properties that really aren't looked at by investors who are looking at buying an investment property. They're bought more so by individuals who are looking to probably use those properties for themselves. Or, you know, again, I know that some people have deemed some of these properties to be, they call them under demolished. And that's basically stating that they are, they've reached a point in their life where there's really not that much that you can do with them at that point in terms of improving their investment outlook. So this one in particular would not have a great investment outlook. And I mean, really, when you look at the income and expenses, that's probably telling you exactly what the property performs like. I mean, they possibly could charge more rent on it, but you know, again, that would be risky because I don't think there's too much of a use for this property in terms of leasing it out. It maybe so in terms of somebody who is looking at this property and occupying it, but the property doesn't perform well, and that's indicated in the income and expenses. Therefore, we've classified it at that top end of non-investment grade properties at 8%. So on page 19, you can see our workup, and you can see that we have a net operating income of $35,149. I mean, again, that's kind of stretching the truth a bit when you look at this property and its performance, and a capitalization rate of 8%. And I think that's more realistic of a property like that. So if we're not adjusting it on the net operating income, I think it has to be acknowledged somewhere, and we are acknowledging it on the capitalization rate side. So we come in at 439,357 or 439,000 even. The rest of the submission is just the income and expenses that have been submitted by the appellant. So that is my presentation, and I'm open for questions.
Arca, if you got any questions?
Yes, Marcelo, have you inspected the property?
No.
Have you? So you've never been to this property ever, right?
I actually have taken pictures of it in the past. So this is not the first time that I've actually dealt with this property at the Board of Revision. So I have had exterior looks at the property.
Okay. And I guess so. As far as the condition of the property, so you believe like how would you place this condition of the property? You say that it is an old property, or like have it done any, to your knowledge, have any upgrades or any kind of improvements have been done to it since, or do you know of anything?
Well, I think anybody who owns a property would not leave them to sit there and age purposely. So over the years, any property owner, any investor would look at the property and do proper maintenance and repair on them. And again, you can see in the income and expenses, I'll just draw your attention to it. You can see that they've done $10,403 in maintenance and repair. So we can't say they've neglected the property. For a small property, that's a healthy amount of maintenance and repair.
And is any of it, is it just one tenant property, or like is it all rented, or is it partially owner occupied? Do you, of course, of course, the information here doesn't specify it, but
Well, Arca, I mean, you have the INE that I have.
yeah. So
You also have the records for business assessment, so you would know that.
Okay, no, I just want to know if you have any updates on it. Okay, yes, and I guess I probably would have to ask you one more question about your comparables.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed here is a lot of information is being repeated more than once.
Yeah. I believe it's some type of medical condition that I have where I repeat things. They're just it's just mistakes that I made. But yeah, I actually already spoke about it initially, that I had repeated some of them already. So I did notice that. I will note.
But those are, but just to verify that now, those would be the same identical comparables that the city is using. Is that correct?
Well, yes, they are your comparables. Actually, what I did was over the past few months, I was starting to build up a list of the leases that the city had organized for us. So those have gone into a spreadsheet, and for some reason in the editing, I guess it repeated some of the entries. I'm not sure why, but yes, I'm keeping record of the leases that the city is disclosing in their
So for the sake of this, so we are using identical comparables. So so my comparables and would probably provide better, more accurate average and medians.
Good shot. Okay.
I guess you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to agree with you, but good shot.
Oh, well, just because my comparables do not repeat themselves, so that's why.
Yeah.
All right.
We still have a cap rate issue, okay.
Well, we always would have some sort of issue, probably, but anyways,
It's
yeah.
not a fish.
All right. Well, anyway, those are all my questions. Thanks.
Robert, do you have any questions? Robert, do you have any questions?
Sorry, no, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, do you have any questions?
Yes, so given that we're all judging the condition of this property by looking at the exterior, because none of us have pictures inside or have been inside this property. Maybe I'll just make just a comment here, and then you can and I can ask you about the comment. I'm looking at the page 8, the picture of the outside of this building. This building does not look old to me, or that it's near the end of its life. It looks like it has a place in any industrial area. It is a serviceable building.
Yeah,
What's your comment to that?
well, I don't think they're neglecting the building, and that's kind of why I pointed to the amount of money that they spent on repair and maintenance in just 1 year. So look, if I were to look at this property just from the outside, clearly they've probably addressed the windows. The brick is the brick. Doors, those would have been replaced. The roof would have been redone at some point recently. And in terms of the heating and all of that, probably upgraded since 1969. So really what you're looking at is probably 69. So really what you're looking at is probably an effective age, probably closer to the early 80s.
Well, how much you were sort of what's the right word, hinting that the building was close to the end of its life.
Yeah,
Right?
so
how much more life do you think this building has in terms of an investment property,
I think
which it is right now, right?
Yeah, I think the economic age of a building like this would probably be around 50 years. And they've probably added another maybe 15 years to that through addressing maintenance and repair and probably some capital in there. So they've probably added another 15 years or so to its life.
So they spent 10,000 on that maintenance and repair according to your report. So it appears that they're seeing this as a more long-term current owners, but they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, yeah, okay, if I can just finish, just looking at that expense and income and expense, which you referred to a few times in your presentation. So you seem to put validity on it, whereas the city assessor did not, because of the the type of information that it displayed was that there was a loss on this property. So anyways, what I'm getting at is some of these items here, the maintenance and repair, and I see hydro $12,000. Is that normal for a building like this?
I don't think so. And, to an extent, I've largely ignored it. So you can see from my own workup on page 19 that in terms of the NOI, I am nowhere near that. I also recognize that there was issues with it and went with the market approach rather than rely on the income and expenses from the property itself. However, I mean, it was in terms of the repair and maintenance, it was just noteworthy to mention. I mean, when the assessor was asking me about whether they were maintaining the building, that, well, they are spending at least 10,000, and that's what the income and expenses are saying. But nowhere did I actually stick with that in terms of my valuation. I mean, you can see right off the bat that my net operating income is significantly higher than what the actuals are suggesting.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and I've got no questions. Anything in summation? Arca,
No, I'm good. Thank you.
nothing. Marcello, anything in summation?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to 1123 Gateway Road. And can we take a 5-minute recess, please? Thank you. Thank you. We'll be dealing with 1123 Gateway. Arca, whenever you are ready.
File number 222394. Roll number, actually applicant Altus Group Limited, roll number 040070311900. Address 1123 Gateway Road. Owner Red River Cooperative Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 3rd, 2021. Assessed value $2,377,000. Okay, so it's 2006 building. With a 14-foot wall height. Gross floor area 3,749 square feet. Flips a page. Aerial and street view of subject properties. So subject property is a co-op, Red River Co-op gas station located on Gateway Road. What else? It has a car wash, a convenience store, and the gas pumps. Okay, so going into the income stream on page number 5. So the convenience store is 1,906 square foot, and the rent applied is $40.69. Okay, so that gives us a potential rent of $77,555. 2% vacancy loss, expenses 3%, shortfall $6, gives us NOI of $73,495. We're using cap rate of 5.15%, gives us a capitalized value of $1,427,087. We are adding cost of additional buildings, which is canopy, fuel pumps, and fuel holding tanks, and that is $681,000. Total estimated value for this income stream is $2,108,000.
That doesn't match your top number.
Yeah,
Does it?
because we have income stream number 2, which is a car wash. Page
Oh,
number 7. All right, so page 6, again, standard report, highlighted yellow, the things that were added to the additional building value, which is pumps, holding tanks, gas holding tanks, and the canopy. Okay, now additional income, the additional value. So car wash, 1,843 square feet at $10.20 per square foot. Potential rent $18,799. 2% vacancy loss, 3% expenses, shortfall of $6 per square foot. We get $17,649 of NOI. Cap rate 6.55% gives us a value of $269,000. Now, so on page 8 is a income stream summary. That's where we combine 2 income streams and arrive at a value of $2,377,000. I added a small calculation at the bottom, blending the rates for both car wash and the convenience store. And that blending the rate together would give us $25.70 per square foot. Okay, page 9 are comparable sales. Again, not comparable sales, sorry. I guess that 5-minute break wasn't long enough, but okay, comparable rents. Now, when we look at comparable rents here, they're the same 14 comparable rents used for for the gas stations. There will be the same 14 comparable rents used in today's at today's hearing for any car wash related file number. Now, so subject property has both convenience store and the car wash. Hence, some properties actually, which is in this particular case comparable number 9, is both a car wash and a convenience store. 2014 Shell store car wash, and that is blended rate of $31.72. So when you look at comparable number 9 on page number 9, 3,625 square foot would be a combined square footage for both convenience store and the car wash. Similar to what I have on page 8, 3,749 square feet at $25.70 per square foot. That's kind of a blended approach to looking at it, and applicant and I, we've been discussing it for similar properties before on blending this kind of rates. But if panel wants to, like, there's obviously separate convenience stores and separate car washes on this report, on the rent comparables as well. Okay. And again, pictorial view, street view, and of comparable rents used. They are from page 10 all the way until page 23. Beloved cap rate table, and the income stream. Sorry, here. Income and expense may sent to us by the property owner. That's all I have, and I'm ready for your questions.
Marcello, questions?
The capitalization rate for this type of property, is it coming from the office section as well?
Yeah. To my knowledge, that's where it's coming from.
Okay. And I believe that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Marcello?
Yeah, I that's the only question I have.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Robert?
I have one question. Are these values, are they model driven, Arca?
The ones on income stream 1 and income stream 2, to my knowledge, yes, they are.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bill?
So there's no vehicle service garage on this one.
No, this is a pure gas station, and this particular gas station also has a car wash. That's all it is.
Okay. And how old is this property? 2006?
Yes.
And cap rate is 5.15 for the or for the car wash? Oh, for the store and the pumps, right?
Yeah.
6.55 for the car wash.
Yes.
Why are there such a why is there such a discrepancy there?
No, when we say like I guess probably it's because cap rates still apply towards based on the use. So this particular is even though it is a like office section, it is still a use. So on this particular income stream, two use is the vehicles car wash, and the model tries to apply the proper cap rate there. And income stream one on page number 5 is a kiosk, and the model is trying to apply the appropriate cap rate for the kiosk.
Understood. Just want to know why there's such a wide discrepancy between the two.
Oh, because they're different. Like one is a car wash, another one is a kiosk.
Understood. Just want to know why there's a discrepancy between those two. Yeah.
You want me to tell you that one?
Sure. Go ahead.
Car washers need a lot more in repairs because of all the humidity that built in them, and they tear down and they give them a higher rate for that.
Yes, thank you, Marcelo. I need more coffee.
I have no further questions.
All hearings are in right now.
And I've got no questions, Arca. We'll move on to Marcello's presentation.
Okay, this is 1123 Gateway Road. And again, you can see the pictures on page 6 and 7. Basically on the just a little bit north of the corner of Gateway and McLeod Avenue. In terms of the rental rates that we've applied for this property, you can go to page 12. And in this situation, we would be taking from the green section. So those are the combination C-store and car washes. So there are 4 of them. So the first one is Lakewood. That has an effective age between 1980 and 2007. 3,896 square feet. 2,310 is the net rent. The next one is 1425 McPhillips. That is 4,880 square feet total, built in 2004, with 2183 net rent. And the next one is Sage Creek, number 50, 2015 built, 3,644 square feet, and $28.24. The next one is 690 Sterling Lion, 2014 build, 3,625 square feet, $31.72. We've given the property a rent of $26 combined. And again, if you combine them again, that is slightly above what the assessor's rent is in terms of the way that they've split them up. But if you combine them, we're actually a little bit higher. Vacancy allowance 2%, shortfall $6 per square foot. We haven't deviated from the non-recoverables. We apply 1 cap rate to the whole thing, 7%. So there are the issues. Obviously, the city breaks up the income streams. We don't necessarily feel that that's in a lot of cases, we don't think that's appropriate. It is one property. So the risk would be from the entire property. The risk would be for the entire property. And as you mentioned, with the car washes, there is that additional risk of the moisture. It's also down quite a bit in terms of cold weather. So if you get extremes, it's not running, so you're not getting any income out of that property. In terms of the C-store, well, that is where most of the business is actually occurring because you're pumping gas. But because of the nature of the gas industry, the smallest share of the total profits of that gas is actually going to the owner. And that the other gets basically split up between the oil companies, the retailers, the refiners, all of those. And then, as I mentioned, the owner actually gets the smallest portion of that. One of the largest portions actually goes to the government, who also needs to be included in that. And, you know, this type of property, again, it kind of, some people suggest that it has no risk, but from the way that we look at them, they're very volatile. They're very dependent on what's happening in terms of the markets. Oil prices go up, people change their habits. Government changes in policy will have effect on this. You all know about the carbon tax. That all has an effect on curbing people's habits. And that's what the carbon tax is there for. It's meant to change people's habits. So there's also the move towards more hybrid and electric vehicles. That all has an effect on this type of property. So if you're not getting the revenues from pumping gas, your only options are to sell a lot of cigarettes and you know, pop and all of those things, chips and chocolate bars. But again, to say that this property has very little risk to it, I think is really not looking at it from the perspective of this particular use. And it is a very volatile use. OPEC goes on a tizzy and they decide to increase or decrease production. It has an effect on the end, which is the profits for this particular owner. So again, I think there is a lot of volatility in this business, and it has to be reflected in that capitalization rate. And again, I'll stream back to the issue of the car washes. We're going through a cold spurt right now. A lot of these car washes are offline. So I would say that the 7% is probably around where it should be. Now, we've made adjustments also for on page 15, if you look at the summary of the income approach. I made some adjustments on the cost in general. I do look at the city's numbers, and this one I went with a slightly higher adjustment, so 700,000. That gives me an indicated market value of 1,963,000 rounded. In terms of the additional information, we're just providing the income and expenses that have been submitted by the owner and some pictures of some of the comparables. So I am open for questions.
Marcel, sorry, Arca, you have questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Robert, do you have any questions?
I'm just curious, unless I miswrote something here, the adjustments for the equipment and stuff for a gas pump and such, the 681,000 on the assessor side, where does it show up on the applicants?
So Bob, if you look at the page 15.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see on the left side there are some rows there that have names on them. The one that says adjustments.
Okay, adjustments 7. Oh, 7. Well, I thought that was 700. 700,000.
It is 700.
Yeah.
That's too simple. Sorry. Thank
No
you.
problem. Yeah,
Bill, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
The only question I have for you, Marcello, is this one doesn't have a charging station yet, does it?
like for electric vehicles?
Yeah.
No, no. No.
I've noticed a lot of it.
I would think that that would be kind of, like where I've seen the charging stations is in places where people park and go shopping. So the shopping malls, the underground garages and stuff like that.
No,
Not
co-ops.
necessarily here. I haven't seen any gas stations, but I don't frequent co-op, so.
Okay. Yeah, the co-ops are putting them in. It's just some have them, some don't. So
Yeah, and those
It'll
would
be-
probably be the
they
fast
start-
chargers, right?
Hmm?
Those would probably be the fast chargers because they have different types.
Yep,
Some
these
do
are
a
the-
very quick charge.
yeah, well, it depends what you want to pay for, the fast charge or the slow charge. They got them both at all locations. So,
Yeah,
but anyway, we haven't seen those yet. I was just wondering if this was might have been one of them. So,
no, I don't
guess
think
it's
so.
not. I guess it's not there yet.
No.
I've got no further questions. Anything in summation, Arca?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Marcello?
Nope, I have no submission.
Oh, in that case, we will move on to the next property, which will be 40 Lexington. Correct?
All right, so
Okay.
fire.
Just 1 second here. 150. Go back. Arco, when you are ready. When you're ready, Arca. You're freezing up a lot, Arc. You're
Am I
actually
freezing?
freezing up. Yeah, every once in a while, yours is the one that's locking up on us.
Oh, okay. I don't notice it, so
Okay.
seem to be going smoother.
If we
as far
ask
as
you
I
to-
can see.
We ask you to repeat, it's only because you're hanging up on us.
Okay. It could be just me, not the computer. I don't know. Okay.
We'll blame it on the computer.
All right, sounds good. So file number 221453. Autos Group Limited, roll number 0400714140, 40 Lexington Park. Owner Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $9,636,000. It's 2010 year built, 21-foot wall height. Leasable area 44,000 square feet. Okay, so page 2 and 3 show aerial and street view of the subject property. It's a MPI office and inspection center. Hence, it's a vehicle service garage. So for the
Excuse me 1 second, guys.
questions. I'll put this in recess until our chair comes back.
Fine.
Apologize for that. We'll call the meeting back to order. Arca, when you are ready.
All right. So I was on page 2 and 3, aerial
Yeah.
and street view of subject property pictures. All right, flip into page 5, income stream. So, as I said, subject property is an MPI building used for MPI offices as well as vehicle inspection. So we have premises. 4 premises make up the income stream number 1, and there is only one income stream. So 14,938 square feet at $19.54 per square foot. 14,688 square feet at $19.56 per square foot. A mezzanine area of 9,874 square feet at $13.07 per square foot, and leasable basement area of 4,500 square feet at $11.66 per square foot. So total area 44,000 square feet, potential rent $760,709. Blended rate altogether $17.29 per square foot. So to get to NOI, we're using 2% vacancy loss, 3% expenses, $6 shortfall. And that gives us an NOI of $717,850. Cap rate of 7.45% is gives us a assessed value or capitalized value of $9,636,000. So comparables, again, because it is a VSG, we're using the same 15 VSG comparables that have been used before. And as a comparison, also, and OFS comparables have been added. So 6 OFS comparables. 14 Taylor, 1,890 and 850 Pembina, 1,000 Waverly, and 1558 Wilson, 500 St. James. So those comparables range anywhere from $13.91 per square foot to $17.92 per square foot, and average around $15.60, average $15.68 and $15.13 for the median. Okay. Okay, so following pages again provide pictures of the comparables, and comparable pictures provided for BSG, the vehicle service garages. Cap rate on page 23. Income and expense report sent to the city of Winnipeg. So when we look at pages 2 and 3 again, on aerial view and view of subject property, it would appear that there is a very large wells built to open up the basement. So the basement, I just want to point it out that the basement, leasable basement area of 4,500 square feet is very well open. It has a large amount of windows and is within the basement rates should be classified as more of a superior basements when it comes to in comparison to basements without windows. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
You're not going to go.
Marcello, any questions?
Yes, this will be very short. Your comparables on page 7 You have nothing that is close to the subject in terms of size, that's correct?
No, they are in terms of size, like subject property is large, right? So it is a 44,000 square foot overall building. How much of it is office, how much of it is vehicle service, right? So if you look on page 5 of my report, we can see about 14,000 square feet is office plus 9,000 mezzanine, and for about 15,000 of it is vehicle service garage, more or less. So, but yeah, like as far as the size, like typically it's very difficult to like not difficult actually, comparables do not typically exist for this type of buildings. It is a unique building, more or less.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Robert,
No question, thank you.
Bill,
Yeah, on page 7, your comps there for the OFS. They range from 1391 to 17. So you put the rent here at $17 and something, higher than the highest comp. What's the reason for that?
Well, again, we're looking at, I guess, overall 2010 building with its construction type being used there as far as the building's masonry bearing construction, typically on a higher end scale. That's a main driver for that.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
on your comps 2735 Pembina Highway, did you put a picture of that one?
Excuse me, which address?
2735 Pembina.
2735 Pembina. Which comparable number is that? Oh yeah, comparable 4. It should be there. Yeah, on page 11.
You're aware that property is no longer there? It was cleared up in one of our past hearings?
Well, the building was demolished. I believe it's recently. However, the comparable number 4 does report a lease of 2020.
Which one is that?
Comparable number 4, right? The one you had questioned about. So I guess it was leased for a year or so, and then it was demolished. So it was demolished recently.
Do you remember what the short-term lease was for?
It was for the vehicle service garage.
No, that was the vehicle service garage was the Midas, correct?
Yes.
And it's been demolished, correct?
Yeah, it has been demolished post, right? Post this list.
And the buildings behind it got demolished before that, correct?
I would assume so, yes.
The building next door is also gone, correct?
Today? Right now,
Today.
you mean? Yeah, I wouldn't know.
It's just a big hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, we brought this one up before. It was one of your colleagues that actually brought it up. So,
Yeah,
that-
I understand that. Yeah.
But
Just,
there were- okay, I'll leave that one. It was the vehicle garage. You're saying Midas that was there. Okay, we'll leave that one alone. The other question I had, I got to go back to your beginning. You said the basement was leasable, correct?
yes.
For it to be leasable, does it not have to have access on its own to be leasable?
It has to be usable as a leasable area for it to be leasable. I am not. I don't have information as far as for it to
They
be
couldn't do a
leasable.
separate. I'm saying they couldn't do a separate lease on it, could they?
Well, they couldn't do a separate lease on any of this, to my knowledge. It's built specifically for MPI purposes.
Yeah, it's a one building thing. So I'm just wondering why a basement, is it more for storage or is it office space? Is it kitchens? What is it down there?
Well, it's overall, it's I believe there is a bit of office. Looking from looking at the plans, there is a bit of office there, and it is a larger. It's a full. It's a larger basement, but only 4,500 of it is being assessed, which is actually office.
Okay, so 4,500 is the office space downstairs, you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's actually larger than that. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So is it office or storage?
I believe it is office, but
You haven't visited the site then?
no.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Marcello, did you ask questions?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you had the one question. Okay, on with your presentation, please.
Okay, so we're looking at 40 Lexington Park. This is an MPI property. We have 29,626 square feet on the main floor and 14,374 square feet in the basement. You can see the pictures on page 6 and 7. And we can go straight to the leases on page 11. So we've noted some of the leases in terms of comparables here. The ones that we think are more appropriate are the ones that are highlighted in green. And we've also noted some basement leases. In terms of the property, 1284 Main Street, you'll note this property has a leasable area of 24,225 square feet and a rental rate per square foot of $20.49 according to the 28 INE. The leasable area according to the city of Winnipeg is 44,000 square feet. That is because there is a basement that is also usable. And you'll note that the square feet is 44,000 square feet. Not a coincidence that it also matches our own property. They're pretty much the same property, built in different areas, with some slight variations, but for the most part, they are pretty much the same property. And we'll note that we produced a rent of $15.23 per square foot. That takes into account the $8.50 that we allocated to the basement of 14,374 square feet. And the upper area, we assigned a higher rent of $18.50 per square foot. And that is taken into consideration that half of it, roughly half, is garage area and half is office area. However, this rate of $18.50 is quite consistent with a superior flex space or even an office suburban rate. So it's actually quite high in our opinion. blended together, we get $15.23. And you'll note back at the comparables that we listed, 1284 Main Street, which is the property that the other MPI property that I'm talking about. That one, the lease started on April 20th, and it goes to the 31st of March in 25. So, I mean, it's 1 year before the reference date, so it's fairly close. I don't know what better comparable we could find for this property. So in terms of vacancy allowance, we've allocated 2% shortfall, $6, 7% non-recoverables, capitalization rate of 7%. I believe the assessor had 7.45. So we've even gone lower than the assessor in this case in terms of the capitalization rate. Obviously, the difference lies with the rental rate. And that's where we're at, 670,260 if you turn to page 14. And vacancy is 13,405 for an effective market of 656,855, $51,260 in expense allowance, 605,595 is the net operating income, capitalized at 7%. That is 8,651,357, or 8,651,000. If we continue on into the appendix, you can see that we've included the income and expenses supplied by the owner. This is an owner-occupied property, unlike 1284, which is actually leased out at 1284 Main Street. And if you turn to page 20, I believe, you can see a sketch of the basement. So there are office areas in there, lunch areas, washrooms, and then there are the mechanical, electrical areas, all of those. On the next page over, you see a sketch of the main floor, which is that's on page 22. You can see the garage and the office area. And then starting on page 24, you can see pictures of the interior. These are on the main floor. And if you go to 26 and 27, that is again on the main floor. When you get to 28, we're in the lower level, we're in the basement. And you can see some meeting areas. 29, that's also in the basement. And number 30, that's again in the basement. Number 31, that is in the basement. You can see the stairwell there. And then on 33, you can see more office area on the main level. Number 34, page 34, that's main level. And 35, you start to see the pictures of the garage. 37, again, that's a larger picture of the garage. And again, the garage area is continuing on. On 40, you have the outside pictures. 43, 44, and on and on. And lastly, on the, I believe, starting on page, what are we at, 47? I included the lease of 1284 Main Street. Again, it says 1224,225 or 9308. However, that is missing the lower level of some 16,000 square feet. I don't know what the total is, but it comes to 44,000 square feet in total. And that is my presentation. I am open for questions.
Arca?
Give me a second. Marcelo, what page, for me to quickly scroll, where are your comparables at?
11.
Okay, so you are using a rate of $8.50 per square foot for the basement. And you're using basement, is it supported by your basement comparables or like?
No, I
Like,
mean, generally what we use for a basement is about half of what the top floor is
I see.
asking for. So it doesn't have the same utility as the main floor. However, it is usable area, so we did assign a rent to it.
I see. Because when I looked at your basement comparables, they seem to be way inferior, right? That's why hence the rates and stuff. But would you agree that subject property basement is it's a superior level basement? It has built terrace type well, so it has a lot of windows, a lot of light coming in. So it is.
Well, that is why we adjusted the rent up.
Yeah, but even then, yeah, I would argue with you on the rate you use, but that's okay. Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Robert?
No questions, thank you.
Any questions, Bill?
I do not, thank you.
I've just got to plug myself in here. I'll be 1 second. I hope I didn't unplug the wrong one. I did. Ah. I'll just be a second. I'm losing power. I'm back. Sorry about that. You were done, Bill?
I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, anything in summation, gentlemen?
I don't have anything.
Oh, but thank you.
You're good? Okay, let's move on to the next property then. It will be 715 Kimberly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Arca, when you are ready.
All right. So this property actually does have a preliminary issue I would like to address.
Should read the preliminary stuff on the record anyway.
All right. So I request that that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation under Section 53(3)(b) of the Municipal Assessment Act, and if a reduction in assessment is ordered, that it follow Section 54(3)(2) of the Municipal Assessment Act. Now, the reason being is income and expense mailer that has been requested was not received by the due deadline, and it has been received extremely late. So if the panel would turn to page 25 and through 31. So of the report. Page 25 shows the income and expense information that has been sent, as well as page 26 and 27. And page 28 provides a letter, and the letter is there on dates November 15th, 2021. That is when it has been sent. Page 29 provides a Canada Post tracking on June of 2021. So on June, and that the information has been delivered on June 14th to the sender, the recipient, and as well as 30 and 31 also provide a signature. Page 31 provides a signature. And because the deadline was June 30th to receive the information, and the extension has not been requested by the property owner. In November, it was the information received in November would have been received too late for it to be used in 2023 model, and that the purpose of the information request is for information to be used in the model. So since the information has been received extremely late, I asked the panel to I guess to place a burden of proof on the applicant as have been asked under section 53(3)(b) of the Municipal Assessment Act, and again, if it is ordered, then apply section 54(3)(2) of the Municipal Assessment Act. Thanks.
Marcello,
Yes,
are you challenging it?
I'm actually just gonna request a confirmation on it.
On the confirming the city's number, you mean?
Yes,
Are you okay with that, Arca?
no, it gets confirmed, everything gets confirmed.
Arca,
Yeah, I'm
you okay with that?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Panel members, do you have any questions on that?
No,
No questions.
Okay, we'll decide after whether we'll just confirm it. That was number 6, correct?
yes.
Number 6, Kimberly. We'll move to 1947. Just give me 1 second to move to that. Number 7 is 1947 Henderson. Come on. You have to explain to me what I'm doing. Oh, can somebody shut the puppy up? City of Winnipeg. When you are ready, Arca.
Okay. So file number 22-2408, applicant Altus Group Limited, roll number 040012015000, address 1947 Henderson Highway, owners Red River Cooperative Limited, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, assessed value $2,327,000. So it has 2 buildings, built in 1999 and in 2008, wall height 13 feet and 17 feet. A leasable area 2,188 square feet. So pages 2 and 3 provide aerial and street view of the subject property. It's a Red River Co-op gas station consisting of a car wash, convenience store, as well as canopy and a few dispensing items. All right. So page 5, income stream number 1 is a car wash. So car wash is 1,738 square foot building at a rate of $10.30 per square foot. with a 2% vacancy loss, 3% expenses, $6 shortfall per square foot. We get an NOI of $16,808. Capitalization rate applied 6.5%. We get a capitalized income of $259,000. Okay. So number 2 is a kiosk. So we have a 450 square foot kiosk at a rate of $197.77 per square foot. Vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, shortfall $6 per square foot. Gives us an NOI of $84,546. Capitalization rate applied is $4.95 per square foot. Capitalization rate applied $4.95%. And capitalized value of $1,708,000. Additional building values $360,000, which is a canopy, gas pumps, and gas tanks. And the overall estimated value for this income stream is $2,068,000. Page 7, highlighted in yellow items that are added as additional buildings as part of the fuel dispensing items such as fuel tanks, pumps, and the canopy. Page 8 summarizes both income streams, and we arrive at the estimated market value of $2,327,000. Okay, I did not provide the blended rate, so I'll give it to you now. So the blended rate together for both income streams is $48.86. So that is when we are using both kiosk and car wash together, using a total square footage of 2,188 square feet. We get a blended rate of $48.86. For page 9, then comparables for gas stations. Again, we're using the same comparables. Comparable 9 would be the one that has both car wash and the convenience store. And other comparables there would just be either car washes or just a convenience store or small kiosks. Yeah. So following pages 10 through page through page 23 are pictures of the comparables that are being used. Cap rate table on page 24. And the income and expense mailer received on page 26 to the end. That's all, and that's what I have on page 30. Okay, so and I guess a car wash, there is a permit on page 30. It's a $400,000 permit to what appears to be a major interior upgrades to the car wash. Repairs and upgrades to the car wash. That's what it seems like the permit is for. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. Open to your questions.
Marcello, any questions?
Yes. This has to do with the rental rate applied to the kiosk. So you would agree that this is on the smaller side. It's around 500 square feet, just under that at 450. You have nothing in your comparisons that really backs up that 197.77 rent.
Absolutely, you're right.
So what has the model done here that we don't understand? Because we have a 2009 property there, which is your comp 7 on Ness. That one is at 92.59. We have 1584 Regent, which is 364 square feet at 159. And then there are two slightly older ones at 1484 Inkster and 1180 Narren, which are at 75.98 and 59.52. So, I mean, if we average those ones out, we're probably going to come out around what, $100 per square foot.
Yeah, that's what I
Can you
said.
explain-
But
Can you explain what the model is doing here?
I'm sorry, Marcelo. I wish I could tell you what triggered it, but I cannot explain what happened. But you're right. There is no comparables that would support a 450 square foot kiosk to be at $197, and your averages are probably more accurate.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Robert, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bill, any questions?
So your $48.86, that was the blended rate for the whole property?
Yes.
And which one did it compare to? Was it number 9 you were comparing it to? Sterling
Well,
Lion?
Yeah,
690
we are
Sterling Lion?
using. Yes, I'm using number 9 because it's only one in this batch of comparables that has both car wash and convenience store.
And you have 3172 for that one.
Yes.
So
But
that's
then again,
50% higher.
Yeah, the reason being there is that we are dealing with slightly larger car wash on subject property and much smaller convenience store. That would drive the difference.
And also perhaps your kiosk rent price.
And the kiosk.
Yeah. Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, you said a much larger car wash. Is this not, this is not a drive-through car wash then?
Uh,
I thought it was, but maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't look like it now.
Excuse me.
Sounds like
Just
it's a drive-through.
let's see. So what was the question? I guess I just.
You said it was
So-
a much you said it was a much larger car wash.
No, I mean in comparison to the kiosk, yeah. So there is a
Yeah, the
balance.
kiosk is tiny, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and the kiosk is also attached to it, correct?
Yes.
The one on the one on Sterling Lion is not correct.
The one with Sterling
Yep.
Lion. I have to go back to the pictures. Let me see, page 9. So comparable 9. That would be. Yes, those are detached. You're correct.
So it doesn't get the same type of humidity problems because of the car wash?
Well,
This one would?
well, it is. I mean, yes, like humidity problems in the kiosk would probably would not be affected in a sense, but in a sense, yeah, it.
And on this one,
Okay.
you only went 6.5 on the on the car wash on this one. What was the reason for that? On your cap rate?
Okay, on the cap, let's say I'm looking for it right now. Well, again, when we looked at everything and when we look at what has been done. If you look on page 30, there has been some things done to the car wash.
Page 13?
Page 30, the
Yeah.
very last page. There is a
Oh,
permit
page-
for. So 2017 per.
You said page
30.
page 30, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
And what is it saying it did on this
Oh.
repair?
Co-op car wash interior alterations include mechanical room upgrades, exterior work including new roof structure, parapellets and finishes, structural, mechanical, and electrical work to be done. So overall permit value $400,000. It's a 2017 permit. So I would assume the cap rate that you were referring to, 6.5, why it is at 6.5 a lower cap rate, that would account for it. The work that has been done would have been updated in the system and would account for.
But the
followers.
cap rates are not usually affected by mechanical situations within the building, are they? Such as the car wash itself,
Well-
it seems that's where they put the money, was into the construction, the mechanical parts of it, electrical, into the interior alterations, including mechanical room. I mean, were those not just not necessarily upgrades, maintenance? Old machinery falls apart, and machinery
I
is not.
understand that, yes.
Yeah,
But
and machinery
but-
is not to be caught.
No, but now it is because it has been mitigated, the risk is less, right? So whoever is buying it, they don't have to be dealing with it at least anytime soon.
Okay, I've got no further questions. Do you have any thing in summation?
Submission?
Yeah.
I guess probably not at this point, no.
No, didn't. Oh, Altus didn't present yet. That's why. Let's hear from Marcello.
Okay, so 1947 Henderson Highway. Again, we can take a look at the picture of the property in its general location on page 6. And on page 7, you'll see some additional pictures there. If we go to the income section on page 12, you can see what we've done here. So we have essentially a blended rate here. However, we have split up the two income streams here because we noted that the kiosk was significantly smaller than the kiosks that are on the Sage Creek property, the Sterling Line property, the McPhillips property, the Lakewood properties. Even though those are basically car wash C-stores, the C-stores there in those examples are larger, and that's kind of why they produce a lower rate per square foot overall. So we did take from the small kiosk sections, which are the ones that are highlighted in kind of the orangey highlighted color. And you can see that they range between $85 or $75 and about $159. And we saw some of the assessors comparables for those SKPs. So we've put on a rent of $125 on the 450 square feet kiosk. We think that is probably more appropriate. Again, I don't know how 197 comes out for something. You'll note that the other property that we had in on Watt, I believe, was about 95 square feet and came up to a similar rate per square foot. So again, I don't know what the model is doing here. And so we've assigned it a rent that we think is probably more appropriate to the level that it should be at. Now, in terms of the car wash, we're at $11.75. The assessor is at $10.29. So we are slightly higher on the car wash. But let's be clear about this. This is an issue of that modeled rent that is on the kiosk. That's what's causing the issue here. It's not anything else. So in terms of vacancy, it's 2%, shortfall $6, non-recovered 7%. And in terms of the capitalization rate, so I listened in on what Arca had to say about this, and to an extent, I agree somewhat with him in terms of the renovations that have been done, whether it's capital related or renovations. When you're putting in that much money, you are going to probably have less risk. So we had 7% on the capitalization rate for this property. And on page 15, you can see that we have a net operating income of 69,616. I've actually, I'm going to ask that we actually decrease that capitalization rate to 6.5. And that produces an income valuation of $1,071,015. So same net operating income, we're just changing the capitalization rate from 7 to 6.5. In terms of the adjustments, we don't disagree again on this. We're adding $360,000 in adjustments, and we're coming out to a value of $1,431,015. Again, that's $1,431,015, or rounded to $1,431,000. That's still a huge difference, but again, this is mainly being caused by that super high rent on the kiosk. So we are comfortable with the adjustment that we've made on the value. And in terms of the rest of the presentation, it's just the income and expenses that were submitted by the applicant. So we are open for questions.
Arca, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Robert, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And Bill, any questions?
So you have a 6.5% across the board for your cap.
Yeah.
So you disagree with the city's 4.95 on the store kiosk, I guess? Is that
I don't know where that comes from. And again, I have a hard time rationalizing a cap rate that low. That's like, you know, the parking cap rates that they present, where they like to say that there's very little risk to the property, so we have a sub 5 cap rate on it. But how do you justify it for an improved property like this that obviously does have risk to it? You have to do proper repair and maintenance on it. It can cost quite a bit. At some point, you're gonna have to repair the tanks or rip them out. The pumps have about a 10-year lifespan on them. And then you're dealing with the issue that's always going to hang over your head in terms of the remediation on the ground. So if this ever ceases to be a gas station, somebody's going to be responsible for cleaning that up. So, and then again, the added issues of again, government and carbon taxation and OPEC and all the changes on gas that affect what we do as consumers. So there are a lot of risks with these properties, and I just can't rationalize a cap rate that low. I can somewhat understand it for a surface parking lot, which is just bare land, which possibly has very little risk to it. However, we even disagree with the city on that, but for an improved property like this, I just don't know how you could come up with a capitalization rate that low.
okay? So this is similar to the Gateway property.
It is. We had a 7% cap rate for that one.
Haven't done, yeah.
Yeah, and we've switched here to 6.5 because of the maintenance, repair, renovations. I don't know what you call them really. They could be capital related or they could be repair and maintenance, but we're acknowledging that you know, you've made some changes to the property to improve it and probably increase the functional life of the property. So probably an adjustment on in terms of the risk, which goes with the capitalization rate, probably is warranted. And that's why I suggested an adjustment on the cap rate.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
And your new number was 1,431,000 rounded?
That is 1,431,000 rounded.
Okay, that's what I wasn't clear on that. Thank you very much. And that one. I guess we move to 1070 Henderson next. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, second, let's pull it up before we. Come on. When you're ready, Arca, on 1070 Henderson Highway. Arca, are you there?
Open the file.
Oh, he's back.
My computer is still on the previous file. Just give me 1 second. 70. So file number 223223, applicant Altus Group Limited, roll number 0203 1378500, address 1070 Henderson Highway, owner Rosemere Shopping Center Limited. Roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, assessed value $2,103,000. One building, built in 2018, area 1,685 square feet. Excuse me.
Bless you.
All right, so page 2 and 3. Aerial and street view of subject property. It's a co-op gas station on the corner of, on the corner of McLeod and Henderson. Actually, not McLeod, but Roundel, McLeod, Henderson. Okay. So page 5. Income stream, 1,685 square feet for a convenience store kiosk of the co-op gas station. Rate used $42.52 per square foot, and 2% vacancy loss. 3% expenses, $6 per square foot shortfall gives you an NOI of $67,905. Cap rate used 4.9%. Capitalized value $1,385,816. Additional building values $717,000. And total estimated value $2,103,000. Next, again, page 6. highlighted in yellow are the additional building values. Page 8. Gas station comparables that we have used. One thing to note that subject property is comparable number 2 itself. So 1070 Henderson. The actual rent for subject property is $51.22. On page 9 through pages 22 are pictures of comparable properties. Page 23 is cap capitalization rate table. Page 25, income and expense information. So 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So page 31 actually shows the actual information on the rent for subject property. It's an expert. I have to kind of zoom in on it so it will be visible. So the subject property is a comparable number 2, and so page 32 gives us a calculation of what the value would have been. It would have been a bit higher, of course, if we would have used actual $51.22 per square foot. All else being equal, it would have been $2,387,000. However, at this time, the model is applying $42.52 per square foot. That's all I have, and I am open to questions.
Marcello, questions?
I don't think there's too much of a question with net operating income. I believe we're higher. But cap rate again, it's we're looking at a sub 5 cap rate again. Can you comment?
Yeah, it's a relatively new building, 2018 built. That's where the model applies 4.9% cap rate.
Okay, but even with a new built building, there is some risk to every property.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, and something below 5 is, I mean, really, it's essentially saying that it has almost the same risk that a surface parking lot has, which is nothing. I mean, really, right?
Oh, I understand the question, and I guess as far as that is, all I can say is that's how model treats views this particular properties. It applies 4.9. I mean, it applies cap rate based on it. Like gas stations are viewed by the model in a way that it is applying this type of capitalization rate.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Robert, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bill?
No questions, thank you.
And I've got no questions. Anything in summation, gentlemen?
I don't think I've gone yet.
Applicant?
Oh, I'm sorry, Marcello, I'm leaving you out every time. It was your questions are so precise, right?
Yeah.
On with your presentation.
Okay, so we're looking at 1070 Henderson Highway, and we can go to page 6 and 7 to look at the pictures. And again, this property was essentially torn down and rebuilt, which may account for the high rent on it now at this point. However, You'll note that we have a slight difference between what the assessor is saying on the rent. I mean, it's quite slight. So we have 5006, but we are going by the rent that is actually on the rent roll. And divided by the area that we have, which is 1685 square feet. So that causes a slight difference in terms of the net market rent per square foot. However, we are looking at the essentially the total rent, which is about $84,351 per square foot, and that is actually based on the actual. And again, this is just a kiosk, so it's not a car wash one. So you can see that our comparables are lower in the blue. And, you know, again, this would probably be related to the new property. Again, everything gets dug up, new tanks, new pumps, all of that. So it's effectively a new gas station at this point. So 2% vacancy on page 13, shortfall $6, non-recovered expenses of 7%. You can go to the income summary on page 15. And we have 675 as the capitalization rate, 675 is the net operating income. And again, the net operating income that we have is higher than the assessors. So what we're talking about is a difference in the capitalization rates that have been applied to this property. Whereas the city is applying 4.90, we are choosing a capitalization rate that we feel is probably a little bit more realistic at 6.75. That brings the income value to $1,135,932. We've made adjustments of 717,000. That brings our total value to $1,852,932, or $1,853,000 rounded. The remainder of the information is just the submission by the owner, including the income statement and the rent roll. And I'm open for questions.
Yes.
Parker, any questions?
Yeah, just a quick question, Marcelo. This being, I guess, a new building, 2018 year built, would you think that 6.75 cap rate is a bit too high for that kind of building?
In comparison to 4.9, definitely. In comparison to the other properties that we've looked at, where I've put cap rates around 7%, 6.5, I think in one. I don't doubt that the cap rate is probably sub 7. I've put 6.75, and the panel can decide on whatever cap rate it wants to put on there. But 4.90, not possible.
No, yeah, that's those are all my questions. Thanks.
Okay. Robert, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bill, any questions?
The other properties that we've looked at, this one is a store with a kiosk, pump, co-op. This one is unique because it's quite new. So which one does it compare to, just in terms of the building and kiosk itself? I'm not talking about your comparables, just on items that we've looked at today.
Well, it doesn't compare well with the other ones at all, because you're right, it is newly built. It's not a small kiosk, so we can't use any of those comparisons. And the other ones, for the most part, had that combination of C-store / car wash. So I don't know how comparable those are either. this one is kind of sitting on its own, because it is simply a kiosk by itself. But in terms of the rent that we've applied on it, you know, we haven't understated the rent. I mean, we've gone with a rent that is pretty much the actual rent, which is higher than the modeled rent. The difference is obviously the cap rates.
And so just taking into account the modernness or newness of the building, you feel that 6.75% is fair.
6.5 you went to, I think, didn't
6.75% is what you have, right?
Yeah, 675.
I guess your answer is yes. You think it's fair. Correct.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at the other one that we looked at where I adjusted the capitalization rate on it to 6.5. You'll note that the rent on that one was substantially lower. So in this one, I mean, we are adjusting the rent. We're not adjusting the rent. We're taking the actual rent as is, which is quite high, and the modeled rent is coming out lower. So there is that balance of the two also. But I mean, it probably would have less risk than some of the other properties that we've looked at. But again, it's going to be below 7, but I don't know if it's going to be below 6. So that's why I'm at 6.75. But again, I'll leave that to you.
Okay. Just trying to get as much feedback as possible before we look at it. Thank you.
And I've got
further
no
questions.
questions. Anything in summation, gentlemen?
Okay.
Nope, I don't.
Nope. So let's move on to the last property at 610 Kildare then. And 610 Kildare, when you are ready.
So on this property, there is also a preliminary issue. And I request that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation, section 53(3)(b) of the Municipal Assessment Act. And if a reduction in assessment is ordered, that it follows section 54(3)(2) of the Municipal Assessment Act. Last page, page 34, shows a Canada Post delivery confirmation. And the item was delivered on June 14th, 2021. And the item was, basically an income expense request. And a letter begins on page 26, the request, all the way to page 33. So the request has been delivered, no response has been received.
Any questions, Marcello?
The ownership information matches the delivery address.
It typically does. And,
So it's being delivered to 610 Kildare Avenue East.
it's being delivered to the mailing address on file. That's
610
how it is set up.
Okay.
To be delivered on the mailing address on file.
Okay. I don't have any response to this in terms of why this was not included. You'll note that they have responded in the past, correct?
I can check. I did not, guess, I did not have time to verify everything.
Okay. Okay.
Are you done, Marcello?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, Robert, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
Yes, so is this, property rented? It's rented out, of course, right? It's not owner occupied?
I cannot answer that question right at the moment. Let me see. Yeah, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't be able to answer the question at the moment.
Are we to assume though that if it's delivered to the address, the address on file is the same address as the subject property that the owner must there, correct?
So the subject proper. Okay, so sorry, it was a bit breaking up. So the subject property and address is the same as the owner, or so the address on file, I believe, is 610 Kildare Avenue, and that I believe where it was sent to, and it is like if there is any change to the mail and address, as it is the responsibility of the property owner to update the assessment department with that information.
So in the past, though, it has been sent to
It
that.
has been sent and it has been received, and I'm checking it right now. Even the post reference items have been sent and received.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
When you received these in the past, is that the same signature? Because I can't make out whose name that is.
Well,
hear?
I cannot speak to every person's signature who is responsible to receiving mail at the locations, so I wouldn't know.
So this could have been the car jockey that signed for it and threw it on the shelf, correct?
Well, again, the responsibility of receiving a mail is outside the control of the city. It has been sent via Canada Post certified mail to the address.
Were they contacted one more time to see why they hadn't sent it in?
It's a good question.
They've sent them in every other time, you said, so.
I don't know if they've been contacted or not. Second time around, let's see what information we have here. So June 14, it was sent, not received. Yeah, I don't have any information at this time whether there was a follow-up or not.
Okay, Marcello, are you going to make a presentation on this?
Well, first, I think I'd like you to decide on the penalty.
Oh, no, are you going to make a presentation on the
Yeah.
penalty?
Yeah,
That's what I mean, on this. Are you going to make a presentation on the penalty?
the only thing that I have is that they've always responded, going back to 2017, 2018, 2019. They've responded every time. I don't know what happened with this one.
Do you know the signature that's on that paper?
Not recognizing it compared to the other ones that are on the mailers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're different than the ones that are on the mailer. The ones that are on the mailer are signed by the bookkeeper. The one that is there doesn't seem to be the bookkeeper.
Was your client aware that he was going to be penalized today by not submitting any evidence on why he didn't?
They are aware now, yes.
They didn't have any reason on why they did it?
It's, I mean, it's 2 years now, almost. So no, they don't have a response to that.
Have they done in the years after that?
I believe so, and before as well.
Okay, back to you, Arca. Have they done them after this? Did they miss 1 year, is what I'm saying, the year 2020, the year of COVID?
It appears that way, yes.
So they missed the year of COVID, right? Is it possible that it just mail got lost at that point somehow in the office?
Well, I don't know how their office is set up. I cannot answer that question.
But this is not the same signatures on the other information or the mailers that come in, correct?
Well, again, I did not analyze. I'm not a signature expert. I did not. I don't have access currently to all the signatures that have been. I did not review every single signature.
Okay, I've got no further questions. We'll have to go in camera. Arca, you're back.
Yes, same.
Okay, we are going to deny the city's request on this one, and Arca, you can read it into the record, please.
File number 22-1746. Applicant Altus Group Limited. Roll number 09-001-294000. Address 610 Kildare Avenue East. Owner 5400627 Manitoba Limited. 2023 roll year. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $1,583,000. Two buildings, built 1992. Wall height 10 feet. Leasable area 5,806 square feet. So pages 2 and 3 provide aerial and street view of subject property. Show gas station at the corner of Kildare and Waiwata. Gas station consists of the gas pumps, convenience store, as well as a car wash. So page 5, convenience store income stream, 986 square feet for convenience store at a rate of $40.59 per square foot. Gives us a potential rate of $40,022. Vacancy loss at 2%, expenses at 3%, shortfall $6 per square foot. Calculates NOI rate of $37,927. Capitalization rate of 5.05%. With a capitalized value of $751,030. Additional building value items are $259,000. Estimated value $1,020,000 for income stream 1. Page 6. Highlighted in yellow items added as additional building value: fuel pumps, canopies, gas tanks. Okay, page 7. car wash, 4,820,000 square foot car wash at $9.09 per square foot. Potential rent, $43,814. Vacancy loss of 2%, 3% expenses, shortfall of $6 per square foot, gives us a net operating income of $41,072. Overall capitalization rate of 7.3% for the car wash provides a capitalized value of $563,000. Page 8, combined income stream, estimated market value total $1,583,000. Again, this particular property combined rate for the entire building of car wash and the kiosk is $14.44 for 5,806 square feet.
Could you repeat that, please?
$14.44. Okay, page 9, then comparables. We have discussed quite extensively today already. Past that, pictures of rent comparables. Page 24, cap rate table, again discussed extensively today. And I guess copies of blank income and return, income and expense mailer has been sent and they have not been received by the property owner from page 26 to the end of the report. If you have any questions, I'm open to your questions now.
Marcello, questions?
I think we're not that far apart on net operating income, correct?
Oh, we're not.
So the only issue really is the cap rate on the kiosk, I would say. So I think we've already gone over this, so I have no further questions.
Robert, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Bill?
I have no questions.
And I have no questions. On with your presentation, please.
We are looking at 610 Kildare Avenue. And on page 6, you can see a general idea of where the location is. And some outside pictures. This building was constructed, I believe, in 1992. And it has a small kiosk and a substantially larger car wash. And if you look at the income workup on page 12, you can see that our combined is $14.15 per square foot. That's for 5,806 square feet. However, if you break them apart, we've assigned $32 to the kiosk and $10 per square foot to the car wash. Now, the rest of it is pretty standard. We've applied 6% shortfall, 2% vacancy. Management is, again, we haven't changed that. Net operating income is $74,186. Capitalized at 7%, that is $1,059,796. With adjustments of $269,000, bringing the total value to $1,328,796, or $1,329,000 rounded. And I am open for questions.
I don't have any questions.
You don't have any questions? Okay. Robert, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions, thank you.
Bill, do you have any questions?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, I do believe that we have heard all the items scheduled on this hearing, and this hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Shall we
day.
take, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay, let's get back in 5. We're 10. I
Out of
gotta-
10?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10, it's good.